Welcome back to the Exit Interview, a podcast for Black educators with your host, me, Dr. Asia. So this is recording number 2. I've been trying to get Jason Shankle's podcast recorded for a while now. Jason and I have known each other for a long time. His podcast episode, the last one, is going to the ethers, the ancestors took it up.
Oh,
So we're
yeah.
back to record this episode again months later. Jason, thank you for coming on the show.
Right on. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Of course. So, you are definitely a different guest than we normally have on the show, and I brought you on because of your work as a therapist, because of your research on racial battle fatigue, and we'll get into all of
Mm.
that. But we want to start off hearing a little bit about yourself. Tell us about you, your education journey. Tell us
Mm.
about your time here in Denver, all the things.
Okay. All right. I'm Jason Shankle. I'm from Denver, the Park here area. Education wise, interesting journey. I started off at a HBCU for 1 year, Texas College, transferred to Sam Houston State at PWI, and then got my bachelor's marketing and criminal justice. Then came back, went to Regis University, got my master's in psychology, and now I'm finishing up my doctorate at the University of Denver, higher education. Um, yeah, in that final phase, right before the oral defense, because I've had to take breaks. Family first. But yeah. And then I'm pretty sure I guess we could jump into it now. Kind of like the my topic, my dissertation is on destigmatizing black male therapists through the lens of racial battle fatigue. Um,
Yeah. Go ahead, just
kind of,
jump into it. Tell us about it.
yeah. So that actually, so it's interesting. My higher education journey is pretty interesting. Because as you know, Regis is a Jesuit university, and then going back to a private PWI university, I taught psychology for 5 years and business as well. Have my private practice. This is the 8th year. I'm currently here, and it's yeah. One of the main reasons I chose that topic is just, because of my walk. I used to actually be a graduate assistant there, a student support coordinator, and over the National Pan Hellenic Council. And it's like 1940 on a lot of these campuses.
Tell us
It's
about
like
that.
19, yeah, it's like 1940. When you go into these classrooms and the gross attention to the lack of cultural competency. I find that so interesting because the culture of the land, you don't have to. I mean, this is the thing: is there's a language of the land and there's a culture of the land. And when you get on these campuses and they have such gruesome history to it, like Sam Houston, he was a nasty bastard. He was a nasty devil. He was known for raping children and all types of stuff. But all of this stuff, and that's Houston is named after Sam Houston.
Hmm.
So it's just really, really interesting that the history that chases a lot of these places, and even with the history of DU and what they contributed to the Trail of Tears. I mean, it is grotesque. It's just, so with being on these campuses, with being like it feels like it's 1940. I know that if there's some black educators tuning in that teachers on these campuses or students on these campuses, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You get there and there's this, what the psychology term we like to say is cognitive dissonance. I think that's too nice. It's called selective ignorance. I call
Hmm.
that selective ignorance. Just because you're sitting around in your white privilege, you're just going, oh, well, it's all right. It's just like, what makes that all right? How come that's not an illness? How come that's not, you know? And then we have all these DEI committees, and the lack of intentionality of not having black faces or colored people leading those. And the fact that, a lot of these committees, it's like they just go, well, how come I can't be involved? It's like energetic assault.
Hmm.
There's just some places that it's just like you should keep your nose out of. right? And if you really want to help, because you got this empathy in your heart, put your money where your mouth is. Put your money where your mouth is. Fund these programs. There's numerous students that are going, man, how come we don't have classes that's talking about racial battle fatigue? How come we don't have resources that, man, with when I need a black male therapist or a black female therapist, every time I go to the university, it's just Becky sitting there and she's just going, I get it, I mean, and they just go, well, she's a hippie. At least she smokes. I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
you know what I mean? We go ahead.
Editor, we're gonna pause for 1 second. Every time you hit the table, I can hear it.
Oh, let me not
So
do that.
you know, I'm not gonna delete anything, but I just want to let you know I can hear you slap at the table. So that part, and then
Okay.
I'm gonna count down. And we're gonna start, and I'm gonna ask you a question. Yeah. So it's really interesting that you talk about counselors and therapists on campuses and the lack of diversity, and people really like begging for black female and male therapists on college
Mhm.
campuses. And so the lack of diversity, as we know, is everywhere. And all black folks don't necessarily want to or can go to an HBCU. And so folks love to say, like, just go to so and so, just go to such and such. And that's not for everybody. I want to
Right.
back up a little bit, and I need you to talk about this term you just used, energetic assault. Can you
Oh.
talk about that a little bit?
That's on my recipe book. I've sat on many, many committees, and what I'm really meaning by that is it's literally like, know your audience. Like if we're in this room talking about black issues, and you're a white person that wants to sit on the committee because you want to just hear what's going on, it's just like that is violating the sacred space. It's violating the sacred space. I call it energetic assault. Seriously. Because
Mm,
that's the thing. Even when individuals' presence in there, it creates this energy because this is the thing. What if your very presence is that very trigger as to why they're there in the first place?
yeah.
Why does that have to be pointed out? Why do we have to do this reverse stuff where it's like, well, you need to be inclusive and no, 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 no. It's just like we're talking about black issues in here. What make you think it's okay to just sit in here and what are you getting off from listening about our suffering? Like really,
Mm,
what what is that about? What is that about?
yeah.
You know, I mean, seriously, we
And I
got meetings out the yin yang. We can have a general meeting, but get out our space.
It's interesting that you say that because coming from Detroit and coming here, there's been so many times where it's very pronounced this is a space for black folks or a space for folks of color. And very much there's always non-black folks in the space or non-folks of color in the space, even though the description says it's for black people. And you know, we understand it, and I love that you said that it's an energetic assault to have the same people that cause harm in the space, because I think I have the same feeling about when we have affinity group spaces in the school cafeteria in the
Mm,
same place that we've experienced assault, right? Where
yeah,
they like, oh, let's all come together from the district wide and have all the black teachers come to this building. Well, how do you know that that building is not the place where they've
yeah,
experienced a trigger, right? And so
right.
I'm glad that you're talking about that, and I love that we're bringing that. I'm gonna credit Jason on this energetic assault. He said that's from his recipe book, so we know that, folks out there. If you hear it, that was his first. But I love that. I love that you're talking about that. When you're talking about racial battle fatigue and you're seeing it, and you talked about this is your dissertation research, it started off, it sounds like, as me search, where it's all about your own experience. Having talked to other folks in community, what are they saying about their racialized experience and about racial battle fatigue that they've experienced?
Oh, it's interesting. So my theoretical framework I'm using is scholarly personal narrative. So it's basically like a form of urban ethnography in a way, but more centered in my story. Um, I'm gonna read this definition to kind of go into that part of what I've been experiencing as a black man and being a black therapist
Mm-hmm.
and being the first to just tell people, hey, yo, this is racial battle fatigue. This
Mm-hmm.
is you're not going crazy. You know, it may feel like you're
Yeah.
going crazy. They may want you to believe that you're going crazy, but you gotta reject that. You gotta reject that stuff. So this is a definite. Oh, and William Smith, because you know William Smith, he's
I
pretty tight with him.
do.
I'm gonna read something that I had cited out of his work, and it says accumulated result of natural race-related stress responses to distress mental and emotional conditions. These conditions emerge from constantly facing racially dismissive, demeaning, insensitive, and or hostile racial environments and individuals. So, to your question, and what I've been seeing, I had done a workshop for the state of Colorado some while ago, and it was so interesting talking about racial microaggressions and racial battle fatigue. The thing that I noticed is it's almost like the most well-known secret that a lot of black people don't know because they can't. You have to name it to tame it. If you can't name it, you can't
Wait,
tame it.
Jason, you've been sitting in my on my sessions because that's what I talk about all the time.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, we and I started to cut you off, but the
Yeah.
reason why I'm so passionate about speaking at conferences and being in community is because I want to support the language, getting the language out there because
Mm,
like you said, people are crying in their car, they are resentful, they are smoking and drinking more, they are not treating their children the way they used to, they are lots of things, John Henryism, right? But they don't know
mm.
the words, the language, so you have to name it exactly what you said. And I say this when I speak, you have to be able to name your experience to then do something about it. I'm so glad you're saying that. I had to cut you off because I'm in a hundred
Yeah,
percent agreement about that.
yeah, definitely. We got to name entertainment, and there's many times very memorable looks on black folks' faces while talking about these pieces. It's almost like a man. They just
Yeah.
looking and they just look shot out.
Yeah.
Like, wow, like what you just described is something that I felt was undescribable because I was in it. I feel it. You know, the culture of this company. We gotta really, we really gotta, we really have to be intentional around putting guardrails around our culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being tribal, even when we're in these corporations, like we still gotta be on code.
Mm-hmm.
We still gotta be on code. Seriously.
Yeah.
and and like what you said, we got to name it, and that's one thing. That's a phrase I constantly use in here because I'm a lot of black man's first therapist, a lot black women too as well, and white people come see me too, and that's cool. I'm about healing, like let's heal, but a lot of black men come see me. And they're like, man, this is my first time coming up in here, man. I just gotta,
Yeah.
and it's a language, like what you said. It's a language. It's a lingo, right? You can't fake vibes. You can't fake the energy. You can't fake the frequency. You can't fake consciousness. You can't fake it,
Yeah.
right? So with this topic, I see a lot of more black people being a bit more curious, and as they name it in some of those workshops that I was doing, being able to be emotionally objective about it, because that's the thing. We are very soulful, and we're the most soulful people walking around here.
Yeah.
Everybody want to be black till it's time to be black. Everybody walking around hip hop out and all of this other stuff, and culture vulturing. That's what I call it, culture
Mm-hmm.
vulturing, right? And we're the kings and queens walking around here. So when we name this stuff, I see a lot more black people going, you know what? I knew something was up. And my definition of racism is just racism is designed to make you feel like you're going crazy.
Yeah.
It's designed that way.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing a lot more black people actually standing up and kind of going, no, something ain't right. And especially when you say racial battle fatigue, it's one of those things, even when you say it, if they don't know the exact definition, they know where you're coming from. They just kind of go,
Yeah.
mm,
Jason, this is so, you know, so many things are going through my mind. But this idea of people, you come into your workshop and you're presenting and you can physically feel the shift where
mm,
it,
mm,
right, where this, they're like
yep,
stunned, then they're processing, and then there's this energy of like, okay, then what's next? Right? Do
mm,
you, I mean, do you
mm,
feel that in your workshops? Because I definitely,
yeah,
there's definitely this arc where when I first, I'm starting and I'm like, any questions? And people are just processing all of their symptoms on a screen.
for real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I know you said she spoke at the state of Colorado. A lot of the work that I do focuses on this in education, the K-12, a lot of K-12 folks and union folks
Hmm.
and things
Hmm.
like that. But it's very interesting because you're right. Once we see it, it's like that's it, right?
Hmm.
I'm so glad you're saying that. And can you read that definition one more time for us, please?
Yes, cumulative result of a natural race-related stress response to distressing mental and emotional conditions. These conditions emerge from constantly facing racially dismissive, demeaning, insensitive, and or hostile racial environments and individuals.
Yeah, hostile environments and individuals.
That part.
Yes, I'm gonna need to put that in the show notes. I'm gonna need you to send that to me so I can send that, put that in your show notes because that definition I've not heard before from Dr. Smith. So I'm glad because I've seen others that talk about the time taken out of your day to cope with experiencing racism that
Mm,
involve the physiological, psychological, emotional, behavioral
mm,
responses that
mm,
we have, and
mhm,
it really
mhm,
focused on all the time we spend processing through it, thinking about it, trying to push it down, can't sleep, rehearsing the situations in our mind. And so
mm.
that's what I've heard, but I like that definition as well. And I'm sure that the audience would love to read more about that too.
Yeah, I'll send that to you. I'll just screenshot and send it to you.
Yeah,
But
please
yeah,
do. So,
this is.
that being said, and we brought you on because of your skills as a therapist, can you tell us what are some ways that you like, or strategies that folks can use beyond therapy? Because yeah, therapy's number one, folks. Let's just hear that. But what are some strategies that folks can utilize at home with themselves, with their families, to cope with racial battle fatigue? Some things that you
Okay.
suggested to your clients.
Yeah. So definitely, get a black therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you cannot spell spiritual without ritual. The way you wake up, what is the routine? If we get up and we shooting into our day like it's a track meet, right? That's it's not a good thing. So what I would say is one of the first things is, what is the root? We could call it a ritual, we could call it a habit, we could call it a routine, because I know some people kind of go, oh, is it, you know what I mean? But it really is. It really, really is. So what I would say is something to start off with is like read something philosophical in the morning. And if you're a history buff, one book that I'm recently read, oh, I got it in the car, African myths and legends, to know the true history, something to get your mind occupied. Because when we talk about racial battle fatigue, right, a lot of individuals take yesterday and today, right? You wake up, and then Lord forbid you're in a toxic situation or a toxic, you know what I mean? You come home, you go from war to war. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
like that's not, you know what I mean? So really, you got to have your sacred space. You got to have your sacred time, and you have to protect it. You have to protect it with reverence. You got to have emotional boundaries. So this goes both ways, even with racial battle fatigue, right? Because we're dealing with this stuff at work, and then we come at home, right? And hey, this is supposed to be the sacred. This is supposed to be sacred space. I would also suggest like a prompt journal to, like, you know, that will prompt you to write something. Like one book that I'm looking at that I'm using right now is called For Empath and Healers. It's a um, I don't know if this is going to be live, but if people start buying that, she should be fronting me, plugging me with something. But
I
anyway, no, no, no,
I
no,
cannot
no,
with you. He
no, no,
need you
no.
to break him off with his coins. Come on
Yeah,
now. Who's the
yeah, yeah,
author?
yeah. Her name. Oh, actually, it's from it's a company called 21 Exercises. So it's
Okay.
not a specific person. They roll out different ones. This one is for empaths, for individuals that are empaths. I mean, it is very taxing. It's very taxing. You got to be able to do your cleanses. So, and also, something that is not talked about as much: fragrances, right? A lot of people kind of go, man, get your mind right, get your, you know what I mean? But it's just like, get your environment right, get your vibration
Mhm.
right,
Mhm.
right? And one of my mottos is, when midnight hits, yesterday so long ago, every day is a new life.
Mm.
So you got to be able to foster things that are just for your spirit that you don't compromise on. Yes, there's some things you should not compromise on, for real.
Talk more about the fragrances.
Oh yeah, so frankincense, myrrh, santos wood, sage, candles, even non-scented candles, um, lavender, right? Setting the environment, right? Setting the environment. I mean, all of this stuff matters because what you hear it all the time. Well, I don't have time. I don't have time. Well, it's always been 24 hours in a day. You're not making time, right? You're not
Hmm.
making time. I
Making
get it.
time for
There's
your
stuff that
healing. Making time for your healing.
and that's the thing you can't compromise on,
Hmm.
for real. Maybe you have to put it on D&D in the morning if you know that some people calling it in their energy vampires or their, you know what I mean. You got to take care of your emotional equity in your life. You got to look at your relationships because you got to be able to protect that. And it's an emotional equity. It's like having a board and everybody wants to say something, but everybody doesn't have voting power, right?
Mm.
If you came here to just eat chips and drink pop or whatever you want to do and you don't have any voting rights, you're wasting your own time. That's how I view your emotional equity board, right? You got people that's in your life, you got your kids, you got your spouse, you got, and when you go to work, that thing should be like a subset committee, right? Where you go, I go to work, I get the job done, I demand respect, right? I know my worth. And by the way, when I get up in the morning, it's about me. First things first, me first, right? Well, put God first, yeah. But this is the thing, God dwells in, this is how I feel. God dwells in me as me. So when I
Mm.
put myself first, I am putting God first. I'm one and the same. I can't convert. I'm already a God. I'm not saying that to be hubris, or anything like that. This is my walk.
Yeah.
So whatever I'm putting myself first, I am putting God first because God's in me and I am God in my life. So we got to be able to prioritize our emotional equity because we can sit here and talk about coping tools or when you go on to work and oh man, I could try to avoid and all this other stuff. Da, 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 da. But if you got your energetic armor on, what can they really do?
Yeah.
What can they really do? And document every damn thing, just in case it gets to that point. But that's the thing. That's why the rituals or the routines that you wake up with is just as important as your coping tools. That's why I'm saying ritual piece, because a lot of people, we have a lot of reactionary healing, right? Like some shit gotta fall and they said, oh, I need to get a book. You should have been doing that. You should have been doing that. What you mean? Also, you got to go through a crazy breakup to start asking yourself, do I even know what love means? Now you want to pick up All About Love by Bell Hooks? Stop this reactionary healing stuff, right? it, Healing requires maintenance. It requires it. A lot of people go, "Oh, I'm healed. I'm never going to." Hey, every day is new. Every day is different. At some point, so that's why I'm really, really echoing the importance of the rituals or routines or habits that you do when you wake up in the morning?
I wanna pause you for a second. I find it so fascinating that when Dr. Smith came on the podcast, this had been 2 years ago, he essentially named exactly what you're naming. And when I talk in community about what he suggested, I have to point out to folks, and I'll point out to the audience now, that Jason is not telling you to go into your job and change the minds and hearts of people at your job.
Thank you.
Dr. Smith said this. Jason's saying the same thing. This is very much about you and about what you need for self. And it's not
Hmm.
start a book club, start a committee, start a
No.
this and a that, and burn yourself up to try to convince people to see you as human. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I had to pause you to say that because I think that so many people, Dr. Smith talked about picking your battles. So many people want to hurry up and like hammer down everything at the expense of their mental health, their families, their emotional, and all the things. And so, if you did not hear that episode, go back and listen to it. But Jason's saying the exact same thing. Get a black therapist, rituals in the morning, journal prompting, me first is God first, smells and fragrances. And I have to say, my husband was going to Jason for a long time for therapy. He always come back with a few incense. I'm like, oh, Jason gave you some incense again, right? So like the smell, right? Having your so basically having your space as a place of comfort and black consciousness, looking at your relationships and evaluating your relationships. And I love this. We have to stop the reactionary healing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
that so many people that I've talked to thought that they were the one, that racism couldn't
Mm-hmm.
happen to them at work, right? And it's just like, well, it couldn't fire me because I'm the head of blah or I'm running this project. And then once everything falls down, they want to come and say, I can't believe they treated me like this. And then they want to, like you said, come into your office, right? And try to get all the tools when we should have been in therapy,
Thank
when we
you.
should have been reading. We should have been had our incense out. We should have been had our ritual. So um I just had to pause there and I really appreciate this.
Really?
Is anything else you want to add? Because this is great.
Meditation. Meditation is like kind of like it's like the soundtrack to God's voice within you. If you're talking, how are you really listening? Sometimes you have to quiet our minds in order to really go, man, where am I at? Can I reset and not have this energy exchange spillover? Uh, but yeah, that's the only thing that I would add to that piece. And I'm grateful that the way you point these pieces out and you lace them together. Because by no means we're not here to change people's mind. So I really like that, change people's mind as far as, when it comes to racial battle fatigue, like what Dr. Smith was saying. Don't go in there trying to change their minds. Say, hey, treat me better, or hey, let's have a better work environment. You know, it's toxic on its own. And we cannot use toxic tools in order to bring healing. It's too much kicked up blood on it. It's too much kicked up negativity on it.
Mm-hmm.
That is not that's a fool's paradise. That's a path to fool's paradise. It really is. That's chasing the wind. Focus on your spirit. Focus on yourself. Right? Have things that you do not compromise on. I get it. We like to, all in the sunlight, but no, there's some things that no, I'm not compromising on that. I'm not allowing you to come over here and put three things on my tally when you are the director. You don't want to pay me the things that you extended to me. And I get it. Some people say, hey, you can't really do that. Oh, you can't, say, but it's just like, hey, you got to have some boundaries. You got to be able to have some boundaries. You say, hey, look, because that's another thing. And you know it too. We hear that all the time. They said, man, I'm doing regional director work. And this is getting put on me. And they're going, yeah, maybe we might give you a raise, maybe. It's like, I'm actually doing your damn work.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't know that. right? That's disrespectful. There's got to be a different way to maneuver this stuff where it's like, yeah, I need to have a talk with this person. Why don't you respect me? Because I feel like you're putting this stuff on me. This is professional development. I don't need no more of that.
Right. Right.
I don't need more of that. I'm not compromising on disrespectful energy. I'm not doing it. We got to meet in the middle of the bridge. So, yeah, like what you were echoing what Dr. Smith was saying. Yeah, don't go in there and try to change people's minds for what?
Yeah. I want to back up a little bit and ask you a question that I had not planned, but I think it's important to ask. The first thing that you mentioned was, and I mentioned too, was finding a black therapist. And there are folks out there who are just leaning into the idea of therapy and then let alone finding a black therapist, right? So, what are some things that people can do to help them to know that they found the therapist that's right for them? Are there questions to ask? How do you know if it's a good fit as a person receiving therapy? What does that look like for
Hmm.
folks?
Hmm. It's interesting. It's I say it's a vibration. It's a frequency. I mean, have you ever just like met somebody and said, man, that person's cool. I kind of get their feel. Like then you met some people where you just like, shit, man, I don't give a damn if I see them ever again. What's
Facts.
their name? Don't care. Don't
Yes.
care.
Yes.
So it's an energy thing, and some questions to ask that I would suggest is, you know, ask what their modalities are. I know you can go to their website and things like that. You know, ask that. You know, ask those questions, and then also, do your research. And and this is the thing, you could tell a lot for how a person answers a question, right? Or another question that is a very good one to ask is what is your philosophy towards that you use in therapy? Or what's your go-to modality type of piece? Go into that because asking the therapist that you'll be able to see kind of like, oh, this is some of my strategy, this is kind of where I'm going about this type of piece. But it's really an energetic thing, it really is, because sometimes because and it's that connection piece, it really is. I mean, it really does matter. It does matter. So that's one thing that I would say. Do your research as you're doing that, right? And then also, if somebody referred you, and they say, "Hey, man, hey, you need to go see a therapist," and you might already know why, because you're just like, "I'm shot out all the time."
Mm-hmm.
And then when you go in, you can just kind of go, even before you get to the therapist, and that person that referred you, right? And they just say, "Hey, man, you're going through so much. I just think a therapist would be essential for you." Ask that person that referred you, what has therapy done? How some therapy has helped you over the years?
Mm-hmm.
Because typically, if somebody is not for therapy, I mean, they probably ain't handing out therapist referrals, right? And that'll be a way to build some rapport there to kind of go, man, because sometimes we got to get sick and tired of being tired.
Yeah.
And in that coup de grace, man, it came where they just say, yep, I broke up with this lady. I keep choosing the same woman with a different name. I'm convinced I'm the problem.
Yeah.
You're the common denominator in all your problems.
Yeah. And I think that same under that same vein of I broke up with different jobs, right?
Yeah,
And
there it
and
is.
not even and even if it is racially motivated, not accepting that's what it is, right? So the
Yeah,
same idea. Yeah. Yep.
yeah, for real, for real.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be some go tos, with that piece. And
Thank you.
then look them up on LinkedIn, and then maybe ask a question about one thing or something like that. But it's typically, and this is the thing with a lot of individuals that's never been in therapy, more oftentimes, because I do all my screening, some people don't know. They just don't know. They just know like I just need help. Um, I they're having an issue naming it. They're like, I'm having anxiety attacks. I don't know what to do about them. So they may not even be in that space to be as inquisitive to see if like, oh, what's the fit. So that's why I say it's more of a vibrational thing because
Sure.
um when they're being vulnerable like that and that therapist is taking that moment to ask pivotal questions where it's just like, hey, are you experiencing more manic depression or mania? Oh, I don't know what that is. Well, let me explain to you what the difference between these two. Oh, it sounds to me for what you're talking about, it's you have a lot of anxiety. Anxiety, the Latin root of that word before they assassinated that language is anxiety means to choke out. That's why when a person's having an anxiety attack, it
Mm.
feels like they're drowning. Just as saying something like that, and I've had screenings with individuals before scheduling. I've had them before we get off the phone to say, man, you just lining that out really is making me excited to come to sit down because to me it's very scary. It does feel like I'm going to die because I can't breathe, but just being able to know what's going on with me, like what's going on, what is this called? Once again, like what you talked about and what we're talking about, we got to name it to tame it. And sometimes people just don't know.
Yeah.
They they just don't know.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Since we're in this same vein, I would like you to please tell folks. First of all, are your books open? Can people even come and see you before I do all this? Oh, his
Oh,
eyebrows are up.
yeah, yeah, we can do it. We can do
Okay.
it.
So before I go into how to find this man, and then y'all we say he's canceled out. So folks who are in the Denver area,
Mhm.
are you do you do telehealth or is it mostly in
I,
person?
I do telehealth
Okay. So tell us
as well.
how to find you, the name of your like your therapy practice, all the information about you where they can find you on LinkedIn because if you know nothing about Jason Shankle, he stays on LinkedIn with the resources. So give us all that information, please.
Okay. So I'll give you the rundown. So inner self and wisdom. This is where I'm at right now in my office. So inner self, INNER, and then self, and then and wisdom.com. A lot of my resources are on there. The number to the site is 720-651-2556. That's the business line number. But typically then I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, a lot of those places. I'm on Patreon, A Moment with Jason Shankle. I put a lot of interviews and stuff up that I do with like Brother Jeff and quite a few other individuals and stuff. And then I have a nonprofit that I started that I'm looking to, combat the racial battle fatigue and also, other workshops, these healing workshops. And now my nonprofit is the Black and Mental Health and Wellness Coalition. So, and it's actually, getting a lot of steam. So a lot of workshops, exploring nature in a way too, as well with mental health with individuals and resources. Like what I said at the beginning of this call, put your money where your mouth is. I'm practicing this stuff. I'm practicing this stuff. It's our responsibility to take care of our community, not onlookers.
Yeah.
That just doesn't work. And then I guess since we on that, addition to that, all right. So I'm an author. Um, I was showing that lady's book. I'm gonna show my book.
Yeah, show your
So
book.
yeah,
They can't see
suffer
it because
less.
it's on but
Oh,
still tell
oh,
us all about
cool.
it.
Okay, cool. Okay.
What's it
So
called?
she don't gotta give no kid. So this is called Suffer Less: Meditations for Transforming Trauma into Healing. This is under my philosopher name, Jay Shankle, and then my poet pen name is Black Azar, or pronounced Black Azir. However, it just means Black God. Um, and all of these are found on Amazon. My second one is Crowns and Shattered Dreams, and my first poetry book is Soul Searching Poetry. Um, and that's the thing with reading and all these other pieces. Like, I am working on my first therapist book. That has been in the making for ever since I began. Ever since I began. So that's another way that I want to, bring a resource to the world where it's just like, hey, man, I'm working on myself and reading this book, and I'm actually, healing instead of just being reactionary and just fixing things and putting duct tape on stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. That's where I can be found. InnerSelfAndWisdom.com. I'm on LinkedIn. And it's evident my name is at the bottom of this interview, and it's evident y'all listening to it. So if you type in Jason Shankle therapy or just Jason Shankle, um, I'm not hard to find on the internet.
Yeah.
Maybe outside, yeah, but
He said maybe I'm introverted a little bit, but not on these interwebs. Jason has given us so much information about ways to combat racial battle fatigue. And I'm just so glad to have had him finally on the podcast and the recording is working because I keep looking up to make sure the red light is on because that is my
okay.
fear. This is such great information. So we're wrapping up our show, and I'll ask you the questions that I ask all of the folks that come on. That first question is there a Black educator or educators that you would like to shout out?
You know, yes. Actually, shoot, four come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'll go in the order as I met them. Two of them I know you know very well. The first one will be Miss Knight. That was one of my high school African American teachers. She taught African American history, and I was her assistant in there. And I've always had a reverence for Black truth and Black consciousness. So that was really cool that she had took a liking to me and said, "Hey, I'm gonna make you my assistant." I was like, "Oh, okay," you know. The next one will be Peggy Lyons. It might be your kid, folks.
Maybe.
Yeah, Peggy Lyons down in it was out of HBCU. I'll never forget that meeting her. She was the first one. She was actually my first college instructor. Like when I first came into it was zoology was my first class, and I went there early, and I said, "Dang, I thought it was a different time." And this is in Tyler, Texas. And I remember as she was taking more of a liking to me, I remember when she said, "You're an erudite." And I was kind of sitting there and said, "Damn, she calling me names. What's going on in here, man?" I said, "Damn, erudite, huh? Okay, I don't know what that is. I hope it's good." What erudite means is someone that pursues knowledge with reverence, right? That's what
Mm.
an erudite is. Because she was talking to me, she said, "You're different. You're different. I can tell the way you answer questions is different." So Peggy Lyons, I've never forgot that word. The minute she told me that word, because at first I said, "Damn," I said, "Wow, man, she assaulting me. What's going on? I don't know what's happening right now." You know,
Yeah, that's
but
real.
I'm like, "Whoa!" But then the next two, Doctor Tuitt, Doctor Frank Tuitt, man, so much respect for that man. And yeah, the work that he has done, and me designing the Black Male Initiative Summit, doing the curriculum and things like that. That's where I met Dr. Frank Tuitt. And he was the one that approached me and said, "Have you thought about getting a doctor? Have you thought about it?" I
Mm.
said, "No, not really." He said, "Man, you should think about it. You should think about it. There's resources and stuff here, and it's great work that you're doing." So Dr. Frank Tuitt, yeah, solid
Yeah,
dude. And then
solid.
the last the last person I will mention is Dr. William Cross.
Mm-hmm.
That's my guy. As well with Dr. Tuitt. I had met Dr. Cross during some of the curriculum designing and development as well. So, by the second year, he had come in, and the first year, it was just awesome. And my background is psychology. So, and he used to say, they brought him in, they said, "Man, you got to take a look at this guy. You got to see what this dude's designing in prison. You got to take a look at this." Came, sat in there, just amazing stuff, amazing stuff. I learned so much from them. But yeah, those four and those last two, oh my goodness,
Mm-hmm.
so supportive, so yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
man. Just so much respect for all of them. But Dr. Freak and Dr. Cross, man,
yeah,
goodness. I learned so much from those men.
Yeah, thank you. I bet you have. Um, our next one is, and our final. What's been bringing you joy these days?
You know, traveling, um, my children, of course, um, nature, and my pen. You know, I have been writing. I've been putting myself in intentional, peaceful, sacred spaces, not just falling in them and just going, "Oh yeah, this looks like a cool place to have a picnic or some craziness." No, I'm intentionally going out and I'm going, you know, think I'm gonna go ahead and hike. And while I'm hiking, I'm gonna take my vlogger camera on me, and then I'm just going to, look at the sun and walk through these mountains and ask myself a question. You know, be more curious. But yeah, I would say, children traveling and my pen. I love to write. And one thing I say is creativity is a symptom of healing. I really believe that. To be able to be in a creative space is the ultimate emotional freedom that I experience. And being able to make decisions professionally and personally and be able to travel as much as I do, um, yeah, I mean, it's food for the soul. And going back to Africa before the end of the year, that's something I'm doing every year. I would suggest black folks go back to Africa, learn a language, learn another language. There's so many languages, black languages, or just another language, period. But get back to Africa.
They, well, there you have it, folks. And I'm going to add to that list peaceful, sacred spaces. I love putting myself there, not falling in them. And the travel, like all those on that, making it to that list that we talked about earlier. All right,
Mm.
folks. So Jason Shankle's been hanging out with us. That was beautiful. We thank you so much. Again, please go out and find a black therapist. Jason's books are open, so you may be able to squeeze in there and take care of yourselves. And we'll talk to you later. Peace.
Right on.